And welcome back to Radio Nation. I am your host, Nicholas Pescod. That was Cowboy off of Last Bullet's brand new EP, Love, Lust, and Illusion. They had a great show on Saturday night, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast. So now we're joined live in studio with Avarice's members, Troy, Chris, and Alex. So guys, welcome to the show. Hopefully you can all get around a mic here and hear yourselves. There you go. Just want to introduce yourself. There you go.
Hey, yeah, I'm Troy. What's up, guys?
Okay, perfect. There we go. All right, so first question, guys, right off the bat is, how did you guys sort of get together as a band?
That's kind of a long story.
Well, we got lots of time, so.
Cool. Me and Alex have known each other since the start of high school. Our former bassist, Felix, basically went to jazz band, met this fine gentleman, and then we met. And then how many years later? 7?
Yeah,
years
it was about
later,
7
my
years
mom
later, yeah.
goes to music stores and plugs me and talk to Chris. And
what does that mean, plugging you?
She basically goes up to people at the counter and says, hey, my son's in a band. He's looking for members. Want to play?
That's pretty cool.
That's literally what happened.
That is literally what happened. And I went down an hour later, talked to Chris, and we got him in.
Right on. And so then, Chris, what is it like being in a band with these two fine gentlemen?
The best way to describe it is just interesting. No, it's a lot of fun. It's different than I used to play before. I was doing a lot more singer-songwriter backing up stuff. So it was really cool to get in a band that was a little harder, a little more aggressive and musically, and just a lot of fun to be playing in.
Now, you guys are a metal band, and we haven't had too many metal bands on in the past on Radio Nation. Excuse me. In fact, I think you might be one of the first ones that we've actually really ever had as sort of true metal. So, you guys describe your genre as metal punk fusion. Can you elaborate on, I guess, what that means for someone who has no idea what that means?
Yeah, I think I'll field this one since I'm the one who made the term. Basically, it's just, we are like a metal band. Definitely think that our riffs are like leaning in that sense, and they're a little more complicated than punk, and and we do like to solo a lot. Me and Alex do like complex stuff, but at the same time we play with like a more punk rock attitude. We don't care so much about like hitting every note right or anything. It's all about the energy and the vibe and playing it fast. And we take a lot of influence from bands like Offspring, who are one of our favorite bands. And so
I think it kind of goes back to our roots as well. Troy and I started off playing in a really kind of, I would say, punk rock band for sure, and that was when we were listening to, bands like Blink-182, Sum 41, The Offspring, like you said, a lot of Offspring. And then I think in the midst of that, we kind of got introduced to classic rock, specifically like Van Halen and Guns N' Roses. And then after that, we found out that these guys actually influenced a lot of like contemporary metal bands like Avenged Sevenfold and Bullet for My Valentine,
for sure,
In Flames, and then we got into that, and we figured we don't want to sacrifice one genre for the other, so why not combine the two?
Very cool. So then, I guess, talk to me about your songwriting style. How does that sort of work in with a metal band as opposed to somebody who's a country singer and that sort of thing? Where do you draw your influences as a metal songwriter? Or metal punk fusion songwriter, I should say.
No, it's cool, man. Don't worry about it. Basically, I just take it from anywhere. I'd say usually it can come from anywhere. I was listening to Jack's Mannequin. They're a piano like pop band, and one of our tracks was taken, like, I thought about that, what they do, and they were just having like a really cool vibe going on. Do it like that. Usually we just try and make it like we want a mixture of aggression, some hardness, but not so hard that we can't have fun and go around. We love jumping around on stage. I thrash around like a lunatic. Alex is banging. Alex literally shattered a cymbal. He broke the entire thing. It shattered into pieces. That's how hard he hits. That's how badass our drummer is.
We have the pieces to prove it still.
I broke multiple strings in a song because we wail around when we're playing. So we want it to be like aggressive, fast. We have like technical parts when we solo, but it's meant to be so that it's the energy and the vibe. We always want it to have like exploding, sweat dripping. That's the goal, unless Chris has got anything to add.
I stand pretty still. I'm a bass player. That's kind of what we do.
We're working on him. He's going to be moving on.
Fair enough. Now, you guys recently performed at the Garrison not long ago, and you had a performance at Troy at your own house, from what I understand. I guess, describe, as best you can, really, what you sort of touched on it. You guys are pretty loud up there, thrashing around stuff. For somebody who's never really seen you guys show, what's the experience going to be like for somebody that walks in and sort of takes in this metal punk fusion sort of experience?
It will be loud. I guarantee you.
Actually, you know what? We played, the first show we played was at the Hard Luck Bar. It was like way back in February, and this guy comes up to us after our set. He's like, and he told us, he's like, this reminds me of like Iron Maiden with like a punk beat or something to it. So I mean, we do say like a lot of we do say that we are thrash and we're very high energy, like high octane, but I think we do emphasize melody a lot too, and that's kind of where the whole catchiness factor comes in.
Yeah, but specifically when we're playing live, it's like I mean, Alex is like a beast. He bashes on everything. I mean, the way we play drums, there's no way he could play it without you. And I just I thrash around so much and just try and get everyone into it to the point where I'm almost out of control, where I'm just flailing all over the place. I mean, that's how we like it. That's the bands we like to see, when the guys are giving it their all. And I mean, I jumped off one of the beer things, that are tables that are supposed to hold it.
Okay.
Fell right on my side, but it was awesome. Chris puts his bass down and runs into the crowd to like mosh with them. That's what we like.
Or he likes to jump off his bass amp.
Jumps off his bass amps.
So you'd say engaging the crowd is one of your big assets as a band, then, eh?
Oh, of course. That's one of the best parts of being in a band.
So then what would you say is a challenge for you guys as a band? I mean, what's been the biggest challenge, and I guess how have you overcome it, or how are you trying to overcome it?
We had any challenges, guys? What are our challenges?
I think just generally trying to get more people out to come out and see us, more people interested in it. So, you know, with the internet, everyone's always got such a wide landscape of people you can get, but it's hard to make yourself a presence there. It's hard to make it really in people's forefront. And I guess, I don't know, Troy's been doing a lot with that.
Yeah.
And he could probably elaborate a little bit more as to how we've been doing that, but
no, I'm going to agree with Chris on that. The hardest part is getting people to listen. Even people who say they like music, man, getting them to actually listen to someone it's a hard thing to do. That's the hardest part, I would say.
What would you say then about social media? I know it's like pretty much a must for every artist that's out there today. You got to have it whether you want it or not. So I mean, how important is that factor for you guys to get?
That is like everything, man. I mean, that's pretty much. I mean, we haven't been on using them too long. I think we started them like 5 months ago, but our growth rate's been really big. We're up to 2,000 followers on Twitter, and we've got over 200 likes. And I think we went up like 50 this month, which is a lot, and those are the things we're looking for. And I spend a lot of time, and I go down across. Anyone who sends me an event, like a metal event, I go down the list and I hit every single person. I say, hey, we don't know each other, but check this out. We play in a metal band. If you like metal, check us out.
Very cool.
I spend hours doing this, and it's worth it though. Do
you find it harder to find metal fans, but when you find them, do you find that they tend to be more loyal because it's almost like a niche genre? As it's not like country or pop where there's so many bands out there. I mean, metal is a little more refined that sort of way.
But I think that could, like, a lot of the it could be the same thing could be said about any kind of art form. I mean, these days people are always looking for something new, something
That's
fresh,
true.
And you know, I think it's about going to the right places and talking to the right people. I mean, a while ago we went and we stood outside the Warped Tour, and anyone that kind of looked like they were into music and they looked like they would give it a chance, we would give them a CD.
Right on.
With the exception of the guy that decided to.
One of the guys took our CD and just threw it away.
Yeah, honestly, I mean,
how did that feel? Would that make you? Were you pissed
Alex
off?
was really pissed.
He was
pissed,
mad.
Honestly,
Honestly, you know what? There's a whole. The kid was he tried to have like a fake punk rock attitude, like, oh, whatever, anarchist this, anarchist that, but. In reality, if somebody was to give you a free CD, like, you don't chuck it away. It's just it's stupid. So I went down afterwards, picked the CD up, and kept it for myself. I mean, it was
good
damaged to hell, but still.
Good for you. I guess then with social media being what it is today and stuff, I guess what's sort of the next step for you guys going forward as a band, whether it's with social media or whether it's playing more shows? What's sort of the next step for you guys as a group?
Chris, do you want me to feel this one, or you want to comment? All right. Since I'm basically the planner, I do most of the promotions and stuff.
Oh, so you do all of it.
Well, at least there's some honesty here.
Gotta just show up.
Hey, whatever. They're great players. But basically, the next step is just to keep doing what we're doing. We're trying to build a following, get as many people that we can that are in Toronto and Hamilton and Burlington. Get them out, start filling up shows, and then hopefully get a booking agent. That's probably the next step, I would say. Just keep trying to build, play more shows, hone our craft.
Would you say then that being from Oakville that there's a sort of a disadvantage, or maybe there is an advantage because there aren't too many other metal bands from Oakville, at least that are necessarily on the forefront of constantly making new music all the time? Do you think that that's an advantage being from a smaller town, or do you think it's a disadvantage?
Go nuts, Chris.
I think it's a little bit of both. It's kind of a mixed blessing, because in one sense, being from Oakville, you don't have as much going on around you already. Like you go into Toronto, and on every block there's a different band playing a different club or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to have the availability to play those clubs so close to home. But a couple of gigs that we've done in Oakville, as opposed to ones in Toronto or Hamilton or wherever else, tend to draw a lot more people because people we know are from there, and not as much happens. So they're willing. It's easier to come out, and I think there's a lot of opportunity you can take from being in a smaller town and starting in a closer knit sort of grounds up sort of thing. You get more people who are there. You kind of become like a hometown hero. Where from Toronto, there's how many bands coming out?
Exactly.
Oakville, there's
3 million people
less.
in the city. So
I don't know what you guys.
Yeah. Well, and really, like if you are from a small town, I mean, like you said, there's disadvantages, there's advantages, but the one advantage I found is that especially when you're first starting to play your instrument, and this can go for any genre. You're from a small town, you don't really have much to do, so why not, develop a hobby out of it first, and then you get better and better and better and better, and that's,
I love how we're all classifying like 200,000 people as a small town.
Yeah.
Well,
in the GTA.
Have you been there? It's a small town.
It's a small town full of nothing but Tim Hortons on every corner with townhouses.
There are like 30 Tim Hortons in Oakville.
And having been from Oakville myself, I can attest to that.
Yeah, me and Nick lived on the same street.
Yeah,
we were on the same hockey team.
There you go. Yeah, that's going back a long ways now.
Yeah.
Interesting Canadian point. The second Tim Hortons ever built was in Oakville on Trafalgar, and they tore it down like a month or two ago.
Yeah, and their head office is in Oakville too. Actually, there you go. Random facts about Oakville Day.
That's why I like coffee so much.
But yeah, going back to your question, Nick, definitely we think it's an advantage being the only ones there. I mean, the other day I sent a message to this girl asking her to listen to our music. She came back with, it's awesome, man. We're always looking for new bands to support, and there aren't any in Oakville that are like you guys. We'll definitely come out. And it's great to hear stuff like that. Some of the responses we got from people have been really, really, it's really cool when someone likes our music.
Would you say then, having mentioned Toronto and Hamilton, would you say it's easier to go into a place like Hamilton where there's, in my personal opinion, the indie scene's probably a little stronger in sort of supporting your genre of music as opposed to maybe Toronto? Would you agree with that? Is that a fair statement to say that it's easier to maybe go into Hamilton as a place like Toronto?
I would definitely say so. I've heard that from quite a few promoters now. We haven't actually gotten out to Hamilton yet. Like I know Chris has played a couple of shows with like subbing in and all that stuff, but I've definitely heard that Hamilton tends to be stronger. With Toronto, the problem with a lot of the clubs is that they have like set bands that they like to book, and they're not really open to letting new bands in. They're like, you got to draw first, but how can you get the draw when the club won't let you in? So it's like it's a circle. It's
a cycle, and I've heard that too from other bands that have come on this show and said, and I think that's we've had some Hamilton bands in that have sort of said the scene's a little stronger out there for the newer, like really new crop of talent, and I think that's awesome. We're going to take a quick break here on Radio Nation. We're going to come back. We do this little thing called the speed round here on Radio Nation where we just ask a bunch of random questions, and you basically just answer it as best you can, and it's basically to get the audience to know who you are and a little bit more about yourself, and your fans to know more about you that maybe they didn't know already. So we're going to do that when we come back. But first, we're going to play a couple more songs here on Radio Nation. To Radio Nation, I'm your host, Nicholas Pescod, joined live in studio with the great guests from Oakville, Ontario. And before we get to the Avarice, I'm gonna read this article that I found online earlier today, and it's actually quite funny. I don't know if you guys and the guys that are here in the studio have actually heard this, except for I know Josh has. But so Americans demanded Canadian-free shopping at Costco. A Facebook page ranting against Canadians patronizing a big box retailer south of the border has touched off an online war of words between those on either side of the 49th parallel, and this article is on canoe.ca. Annoyed at parking problems and long lineups at the stateside Costco in Bellingham, Washington, some residents there, have set up a Facebook page calling for an American-only shopping hours while they can shop Canadian-free. Them Canadians can be rude. The lines are crazy. We aren't on vacation and we have an RV to hang out in like those Canadians, the page states. By Monday afternoon, the page had received more than 2,400 likes and generated interest from national U.S. newspapers and networks, including ABC, which is where I actually found this article originally. Plenty of Canadians, however, expressed outrage. One self-identified Canuck went so far as to report the page to Facebook administrators, saying that it clearly supports racism and harassment. Another identified his profile as Andre Rahum and launched an attack. It just comes down to flat broke, jealous Americans that really can't afford to go shopping anymore, and they need to put the blame on the Canadians, where the economy is in so much greater shape. Sour grapes, I say, hey, here's a loony, go buy yourself a life. A Vancouver man who runs a website offering comparison prices said lower costs and parity in the dollar still send many bargain hunters south of the border. Cross-border shopping has also likely been spurred by the federal government's June increase on the amount Canadians can spend without paying duty throughout. Day trips are excluded. We shop regularly in the States, especially for groceries. I can advise that organic goods are pretty much the same cost as regular goods, said crossbordershoppers.ca. Webmaster Terry Henry Tenby. On average, you're looking for at about savings of 50% in terms of groceries. When Canadians and Americans fight it out at Costco, Canadian retailers are paying the price. Retail Council of Canada said local businesses are suffering and urged Canadians to keep their dollars at home. By shopping at home, Canadians can support their local economy and communities, he said. Indeed, many Facebook protesters said they would take their dollars elsewhere and stop pumping them in the U.S. economy. Here's my thought on the whole thing. Here is this is Bellingham, Washington. For anybody who's ever actually been to Bellingham, Washington, there really is nothing at all to do there. Period. I replied to an article on ABC about it, and I just said that it just seems so ironic that you hear this only in Bellingham, Washington. You know, I don't hear this in Buffalo, New York, or Niagara Falls, or anywhere else that sort of attracts large amounts of Canadians to go shopping in the United States. I've never heard a Buffalo resident say, you know what, I hate those damn Canadians for pumping money into our already useless economy. I don't hear anybody in Buffalo say, you know, I hate Canadians, man. They're keeping up the whatever economy we have left. I never hear that. I was in Pittsburgh 2 weeks ago, and I'm telling you, on the drive down there, every car that passed me was Canadian, except for the one really fast Pennsylvanian driver or the crazy Ohio person that just doesn't know how to drive, period. And that's a different story altogether. So my thought is, I just think it's funny that it's in Bellingham, Washington, and I wrote back on one of the articles, and I said, you know, if I'm ever in Bellingham, Washington, I'm going to be sure I'm going to park my car diagonally across 3 spaces and make sure that everybody knows that I'm Canadian, and I'm going to go buy all the milk that is in the store, because that's apparently, this article didn't talk about it, but that's apparently what the big fight is over, is that milk. I guess milk is a cheaper commodity down there. It's much cheaper than it is up here. And so I guess British Columbians, and one of the posts was about, all the brown people are going and buying all the milks in hordes. Well, wouldn't that make sense, seeing as it's partly a religious thing for those people? I mean, I don't know. It just seems kind of weird. So I think the whole thing is funny. I can't believe you'd make a Facebook page over it. I can't believe 2,400 people would actually like something as stupid as this. I have lots of friends that are Americans. I don't hate Americans, but I think sometimes when you get things like this, it is kind of stupid. And for those in Bellingham, Washington, seriously, these people are putting money in your own damn economy. Like, what do you want them to do? Stop going? I read a great post from money that said that Costco should have a Thank Canadians Day for keeping us, all having us jobs. Like, it just seems so ridiculous that, I don't know why 2,400 people like it, but to be fair, this article it seems a little outdated, because actually the Facebook page got tore down and there's a new one now, and I went on it and there's 10 people that liked it, and I basically just commented on the same thing. I said, it's just kind of stupid that somebody would make this and go out of their way to take a picture of somebody's British Columbian car parked weirdly in the lot when the guy beside him is clearly parked just as bad. And why you would go out of your way to do this? It's like, do you have nothing better to do? Like, you must be unemployed, right? You must be one of the 23 million Americans that don't have a job, and so this is your way at venting frustration, is to get mad at people that are perhaps going to give you a job. And that being said, too, before I end off on this rant, it is to be noted that for the last 10 years or so, Americans have had the luxury of coming up to Canada and buying all the cheap stuff and taking advantage of the lower alcohol age and buying cheaper stuff because, well, let's face it, our dollar was crap for about I don't know, 60 or so years. So now it's our turn to, bite to come back and do that. And most everywhere else does. Nowhere complains. When I was in Pittsburgh, but everybody seemed happy. Like, oh man, all the Canadians are here. This is great, man. Another Sunday in Pittsburgh. Another Sunday at the Grove City Outlet Mall. And every other car in the lot was Canadian. And I never heard anybody complain. I never saw a Pennsylvanian guy scream at me for being like, you damn Ontarians, man. All you do is take up the spots in the lot. And I never heard that. So that's just ridiculous. And I feel bad for the people in Bellingham, Washington that don't think this way because they're totally getting a bad rap, even though it's a really boring place, and I can't say I ever really want to go there other than to shop. So with that, we're here with Avarice. So guys, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks, man.
Hey, what's up?
So what do you guys think of that article? Kind of stupid, eh?
You know what's going to happen? The next show we play in the U.S., when the first one we play, we're going to play it in Bellingham.
Play it in the parking lot.
Honestly, and before we even start playing, we're just going to go into a Costco and just buy a load of milk.
You know what you should
do?
Milk
is so refreshing.
You should
we're going to break it.
You should have a show.
Oh, I'm going to drink it.
You should have a show in the Bellingham Costco parking lot. I think that would be perfect.
I don't want any of that.
Happen.
I don't want any of that milk, man. Milk's better in a bag.
You know what? I
agree, actually.
I hate bagged milk, man. I fucking hate it.
I was talking to my girlfriend about this in Saskatchewan. It's like, it doesn't come in bags. She came here, she's like, what the hell is this?
It doesn't. I think Ontario might be the only place that I know of. Does Quebec have bagged milk? Has anybody been to Quebec and gone?
Yeah, Quebec's got bagged milk.
They don't have jugs though, right? Everywhere else I've been to has jugs of milk, and they come into these jugs of milk. I know we're all laughing here because we're all 5, but British Columbia, it was so easy to just shop and grab one of these big old jugs and, carry them around and get these bags of milk. I know.
You know they make carriers for those, right?
Yeah. I hear they come in different sizes, too.
Hey, that was great.
They come in different sizes, too, I hear. So yeah, I think it's a little ridiculous that they did have that. So anyway, we're going to be doing the speed round now, which is where I just ask you a bunch of random questions. You guys can answer one at a time or as a group or whatever. So the first question is, what is your favorite color? And you can all answer this question, or if you don't want to answer it, you don't have to, but one of you at least has to answer the question.
Black.
It's good. Green.
Red.
Alex. Red? All right. When you're not doing anything musically, when you're not, doing anything that's really music related, what are you doing most? And please keep this at a somewhat mature level. I know what you're doing there. This is a family show at times.
Alex, you feel this one?
Well, actually, outside of Avarice, I'm an artist as well. I'm a visual artist. Shameless self-promotion here, but I have had a couple of shows in some galleries downtown.
Where at?
There was recently I had a show at Triangle Gallery. It's through Artscape. I had a whole group show with a bunch of people from one of my classes. Then I also applied for another show that's happening. It's like a big juried exhibition. It's this place called Oborn Contemporary. It's downtown. I think it's Queen and Ossington. I think that's what the address is. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's it. So yeah, aside from that, that's really what I do. I paint and I draw, and I do. I try and paint realistic imagery, like very representational human figure kind of stuff. So I went to school for it for 5 years, and
Good for you. There's a gallery actually. I went to one. I live on Queen and Pape, and it's called Leslieville. And I don't know. I really didn't. I didn't really pay attention to who put it on or whatever. But it was just I was walking by, and I just moved to the area, so I'm trying to see who's out in the community and trying to meet new people. And I'm wearing the ball cap and t-shirt and ripped jeans, and everybody's all dressed up nicely. So I walk into this place and I'm clearly out of place, but I thought it was very cool. The artwork, there's all local Toronto art and really, really cool stuff. And if I had the money, I probably would have bought one of the pieces. I just thought I cannot afford it, but I always think local art is awesome.
Hey, Alex, you want to actually give the folks your blog spot so they can actually check it out?
Yeah, I think go for it, man.
Well, I guess, like I said again, shameless self-promotion.
That's okay. That's what this is. That's what this round is for. Self-promote anything you want.
It's alexdabic.blogspot.com.
Right on. That's very cool. Maybe we'll put a link to that on our Radio Nation homepage or something like that.
You guys are way too kind to me here.
Chris gardens. That's his hobby.
I do like gardening.
It's a good hobby. Do you garden now? Do you garden with your significant other if you have one? I don't know if you do. So
no, I just got a plot in my backyard. I picked some tomatoes today. It was good.
Right on, man. It's nothing like homegrown food. And Troy, what about yourself?
I basically spend all my time doing music. When I'm not doing that, I'm doing things that shan't be mentioned right now.
All right, Troy.
No, I will say one thing about Troy is he is like the biggest comic book nerd you will ever find. Like this guy
That's true. I
criticizes
love
comics
anime.
and like anything. In fact, we got our band name from
Yeah,
an
I
anime.
stole our band name from.
Yeah,
a Full
that was
Metal
actually going to be a
Alchemist
question I
episode.
was going to ask you later on. So, can you elaborate again on how you came up with the name?
Basically, I don't know. We see a lot of stuff, or at least I do, in society that I think is ridiculous. Actually, it's really apt that you were talking about that story. Just like stupid things like that
Yeah, it's a
don't
little
need to be
weird.
done. And,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
There's a lot of greed and all this stuff. And I was watching this episode of Full Metal Alchemist, an anime that I really love, and it's called Theory of Avarice. And I was like, what does that mean? Turns out it means like extreme greed, and I thought it was just a really cool name. It kind of like shows what we want to be about.
So, what happens one day when you are super huge and super famous and you have so much money? Are you going to be extremely greedy?
When that happens, if it does, which I'm going to say it does because we fucking rock.
There you go.
No ego there. But if that does happen, honestly, I would probably give most of it away.
Good for you.
I
And where
wouldn't
to?
forget the people that helped get us to the top. And I never take more than I need. I don't need a big house. You don't need all this stuff. I'm a pretty simple guy. I like my guitar and the people. Life is about the people that are around you, not about material stuff that you have.
I think that same thing goes for all of us. I mean, hell, if I was so worried about money and all that kind of stuff, do you really think I would have gone into art school for 5 years? So,
Yeah, it's a pretty, especially in this economic, sort of
Exactly,
period.
yeah.
So it's not always a guarantee to be doing it. I mean, it's tough just to get a job anywhere at this point in time, let alone something you actually want to do. Gardening. Go back to gardening. What about
I
what
just
did
might
you
get a bigger garden with a whole lot of money.
what
Maybe
other
a
things?
garden or two.
What other things do you like to garden besides tomatoes?
Potatoes.
Potatoes. I'm thinking. I don't know if I can get away with planting them now. I don't know, but we'll try that.
Is that the Irish in you coming out?
A little bit.
Right.
There's
on.
no. What do I have right now? I have tomatoes. I have carrots. I have onions. I have purple carrots, which I didn't know existed. I had some sweet zucchini growing. I had cucumber.
So you got a pretty big garden, eh?
It's not that big. It's way too crammed. My carrots came out like about an inch in size.
All right.
And
But seems like a pretty fair. I mean, I live in a place where I could not grow anything, well, namely because the backyard is covered in like weeds. But there's no space. I'd love to plant stuff, but I can't.
I grow a lot of stuff personally. I've got a nice zucchini too.
Right on.
Well, we know who'll be the first one to be invited to Chris's house for dinner.
It's a secret garden. He doesn't invite people in. It's secret.
Yeah. Okay. When you guys are being from Oakville, what is one thing that you like about Oakville and one thing you dislike about Oakville?
I like these guys. They're freaking awesome. Yes,
And what do you hate about Oakville then?
These guys.
All right.
I'm gonna go with that again.
Fair enough.
I don't know. I like a lot of things in Oakville. My job's in Oakville. I get along with everyone there. I get all my friends and stuff are in Oakville. It's nice, to be at a place you've been for years since you were born and growing up there. There's kind of comfort there. Other than that, Oakville I just find can be a little boring.
Actually, you know
That's
what?
a fair-
I do have an answer. I would say lack of venues, like real venues like Toronto or Hamilton, all that stuff. That would be the thing I dislike most.
You know what I find interesting, and I'll just out of my own sort of personal is there. If you go downtown Oakville, there's a lot of very, very high-end restaurants where it's if you are jazz, if you are a very strong vocalist, you could probably perform it. And because I've seen it, but there is not one bar that I know of in downtown Oakville where they have. Not even like the Queen's Head. There's nothing where you could go and a band could go in and perform. There used to be that sports bar, and it closed. And that was like almost the only thing that was close enough to performing it in downtown Oakville. And you think that's so weird because it's it's downtown Oakville and it does have a pretty nice nightlife considering it's a small town.
Actually, we got a story about that. There's this one place that does do live music. It's called Less Than Level. But when we went,
yes,
this is hilarious, man. Some people have no tolerance for anything. We went there, and we were actually told we were too loud, and we had to turn it down. This is actually in a club. They made us turn it down.
That's hilarious.
No, the funny thing was this. We were warming up outside, because we usually start off with a fairly hard song to play, so we like to warm up before. We go outside. I'm playing an electric guitar, but it's not even plugged in. I don't know if you've ever heard how loud that is, but it's very quiet.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Now this woman's like a floor up, through a wall, pokes her head out the window, says, keep it down. It's 11 o'clock. And we're like, how could you have heard that? I can barely hear it, and I'm playing it here.
You damn kids.
Yeah, that's, I would have to, it is kind of, I guess, if anybody that's, an entrepreneur out there and has a lot of money, start a bar. Start a bar in Oakville for music, because it does seem to be one of the issues. Even here, I mean, there's lots of venues, but it does, like you mentioned earlier, you got to be on the list to sort of play at some of these regular venues, or you got to really know somebody.
Plus, I mean, we've got a pretty loud sound. Chris?
I just want to go back to the Kerr Street thing there for a second. I work on Kerr Street. I spent a decent amount of time there, and it's just it's probably one of the most unusual kind of hodgepodges of things you have going on. Like you said, there's all those high class restaurants where I think maybe 2 of them will host live music. On Kerr, I don't know as much about Lakeshore. There's a couple of places on Lakeshore. It'd all be, like you said, jazz. Or
it's very, very
stuff.
sort of higher class music, right?
Absolutely. And then at the same time, I think there's now 3 head shops on Kerr Street.
Yeah.
And about 14 sushi places, all of which are really quite. And then you have places like Less Than Level or other places that we played.
Or we played at the Moonshine too, actually.
Yeah,
that was actually great. They have like a great audience there. Everyone ever wants to go there. We did it acoustic. Alex was playing on a snare drum. You never believe how good our drummer is to make it sound like he's got a full kit on a snare drum.
These guys are way too kind to me. Can you tell?
Quick plug for the Moonshine there. Every Tuesday night they do an open mic thing.
I think it's one of the only venues in the area that really, in Oakville anyway, that sort of does anything.
I believe the Piccadilly does as well on 4th Line and Spears. I think they did an open mic night for a little while.
And I know CJ's Cafe does. They do that as well, but I don't know if it's for, I don't know if a metal band could get away with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think it's more sort of a guitar and sort of acoustic sort of live stuff like that, which is, it's still fun to watch, but it's there just doesn't seem to be much venues for. And you'd think, well, you got all these kids and there's nothing to do, right?
Well, we one of the first shows we ever played, maybe the first show we ever played, was at the Masonic Temple, which is actually right in the heart of downtown Oakville there. But it's not really a venue; it's just a hall that had been rented out for Bandemonium. This is going back years now.
This is going back to 2004.
But that one actually was really good. But the problem is that the hall costs like a huge amount to rent, and anyone who wants to put on the show is not really able to afford that, right?
Well, and because it's in downtown Oakville, I think it's tough. And interesting that you say Kerr Street, because it's so close to Lakeshore that they're putting condos up there, and it's funny if there's just about 4 or 5 head shops, but how long do you think those are going to last, right?
Well, it's been in the last. I mean, probably don't want to delve too much into the history and the projection of Kerr Street here.
We love Oakville.
Yeah,
but I mean, over the last, I think there was a couple of tattoo places that kind of got. There was a place downtown called Enlightened Art.
That was right by Starbucks there. Yeah, they were really good.
They were, and then the one guy has Good Point now, and one of the other owners, I think, works somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, they were shut down. I went by there the other day.
I was surprised the other one got shut down. Sorry, go on.
There was another one that opened up and got shut down. There's a lot of kind of cleaning up and that sort of thing that's going on around there.
I always thought it was not to try to sound any longer than you, but that was such a clean tattoo place.
It was
and you know what, I because I worked at the Starbucks next door, and the owners used to come in all the time with people that worked there, and they were always seemed so down to earth and nice, and I remember going in there and it was such a clean, I thought it'd be this grungy little place up on a second floor, but it was so clean. I thought the day they closed, I couldn't figure out why, everybody that I knew in Oakville that got a tattoo went there. I just thought it was so strange, but anyway. More questions. Yeah. So you guys are on death row. You've done some horrible murder, and you're about to be executed. What is your final meal?
You know what? I think I'd try cannibalism. Give me an arm.
It's really
I'm gonna die. I may as well go out with a bang.
He's looking at me as he's saying this.
I am. I want to take a bite out of you.
Take a chunk out of Alex's arm, eh?
Yep.
Alex, what about you? What would you eat on your final meal?
Oh man, that's a really good question. Probably a nice.
Whoa! I just got to interrupt this for a sec. Seriously, this would be hilarious if he was on death row with the last meal, because he freaks if he doesn't eat. I'm serious. I went to his house the other day. I opened up the door. He was like, "I'm eating," and it was like if I didn't get the hell out of there, shit was going down.
It's my inner Serbian coming out.
So what would be your final meal then, my friend?
My final meal, well, probably in the Serbian tradition, we have this salad called chopped salad. That's how you'd say it in English. It's pretty much cucumbers and tomatoes sprinkled with feta cheese. I'd probably have that as an appetizer, and then maybe some mashed potatoes in there with some chicken or steak, either or. I can't decide.
Doesn't sound like a bad final meal at all.
No,
It seems
not at
better
all.
than an arm.
And bread is a necessity. I'm a huge bread guy.
Oh yeah.
Chris will have a single potato.
Hey, groom the potato like a true Irishman.
I'll have a potato. I'm gonna have as much
And
really
some sheep.
crappy.
A haggis.
Sure, we'll throw some haggis on there, just as much really crappy KFC and just terrible things. So once they hang me, we all know what's gonna happen after that.
No, seriously, tell them what you'd have.
For those of you who don't know, when you die, your body releases its bowels. Let's make that as pleasant for whoever's gonna pull the switch on me as possible.
Yeah. Fair enough. Music-wise, you mentioned where you came about your name. Where's one venue that you guys would absolutely love to perform at? It could be anything. It could be Madison Square Gardens is almost always said on the show, so it could be anywhere. It could be Madison Square Garden. It could be London. It could be anywhere.
I think I got one. Definitely. Oh, what's the name of that Australian festival? Soundwave?
I don't know.
Oh, that would be kick.
Bonnaroo?
That would be kick ass.
That's
Bonnaroo would be awesome too. But if we had to go for one that was here, I definitely want to play at like Lee's Palace, having like a show. That would be really cool, or the Opera House.
Cool.
Chris, what about yourself? Where?
I'd like to play the Sound Academy. That's like my favorite venue in Toronto.
Yeah, good call.
That or a House of Blues. I like the House of Blues.
Good.
Yeah. I like
Actually,
Sound
you know
Academy.
what? Thinking on it, I'm going to go with Wembley Stadium, man.
Ooh.
To stand on the same stage as Freddie Mercury, that would be freaking awesome.
Alex, what about you?
If I'm speaking locally, I would say top three for me: the Phoenix for sure, the Cool House, and probably the Sound Academy. And then internationally, for some reason, I've always been drawn to Daytona Beach. I don't know why. I know they hold concerts there, and I know Blink-182 played there naked.
Yeah, I know why you've been drawn there, man.
Yeah, that's maybe for after the show. Yeah, it's a nice place. I've been, not for very long, but I've been.
No.
All right. In terms of where do you see you guys sort of headed in the next year or two? I mean, what's sort of the goal by this time next year? Where do you sort of want to be at? Where's sort of a marker point where, if we're not here, we haven't necessarily failed, but we just need to sort of work on this a little more, or we're past this marker, so we have to do this.
Well, basically, the plan is just to keep building a following. But like I said before, I mean, I've always wanted to do music for my whole life. I know Chris is the same way and all that stuff. But I only really started we only started pushing it hard really the last couple of months, really promoting and trying to build a following and all that stuff. And that's probably because of some events that have happened that have made you realize what you want to do. But basically, the goal would be to just keep building a following, keep promoting, playing as many shows as possible, honing our craft, making it so that our live show is as energetic as it possibly can be, and our songs are as good as can. Hopefully record a proper demo if we get some cash together, get a manager, a booking agent, so that I don't have to keep doing it.
Yeah,
that
it could be time consuming.
That would be the goal, yeah.
Anybody else? I mean, is that the rest of the band members, would they agree on that?
I completely agree with what Troy said there. I just think as long as we can keep evolving individually as musicians and keep evolving musically as a band, that's something I'd like to continue to see. But
I think the one thing
obviously
the one thing that we definitely won't lose, I know that for a fact, even the tracks that we have recorded now, they were all recorded live, and I think the key is just to keep that the energy from the live shows and somehow find a way to transmit it and transfer it onto the final record. That would be awesome.
Now, that was sort of actually going to be my next question then, is there, I mean, you have this album here. Is there plans for sort of an official album or anything like that in the works? Or?
Well, right now we just spent about $400 or so doing just a live demo. We don't really have much cash right now, so we just basically went in, we did 4 hours, but we really only played for half an hour of that. The rest of it was setting up. We just recorded them live into it. But we have a lot of tracks, 10 tracks that were recorded in my basement, with this bad program Audacity, but I'm a pretty good mixer, so those turned out really well. The problem is the vocals don't work so well on it, so it sits above the mix, ends up sounding like karaoke. So those are all instrumental, but they're all finished and they have vocal lines and they're ready to go. The ones we did do, there are 5 live ones, and for the amount we paid, it turned out really well.
And I guess then, are grants like Factor Grant and any of that, so is that sort of like, something you guys obviously probably are looking at? I mean, is that sort of a goal for you guys to apply for grants as much as possible so you can get some funding to actually do this craft?
Yeah, of course, man. That's definitely in the plan.
Also, if anyone just wants to, come by and hand us $20 every now and again, that's not bad either.
You know what? If we're going to ask for money, we may as well go higher than that, Chris. Let's go with 200. Come by and give us a couple.
I think you expect too much, Troy. Come on, $20 is a nice amount. Just walk by on the street and just take $20 from each person.
Now, have you guys ever just wanted to like play on the street? Like, I've been to downtown Oakville. I've seen random people just pull the guitar. Have you ever just wanted to sit down and start playing away and pray to God somebody gives you like $30 to? Has that ever been a thought?
You know what? We definitely have considered busking. The only problem is sometimes, we have like an unofficial manager, Jason. And he kind of helps us with marketing and stuff like that. And he straight up told me, he was like, don't busk. It makes you look unprofessional. Like that. So I don't know if I listen to him all the time, but that was his advice.
He's probably cursing your name right now for saying that.
Interesting, because the show I was at on Saturday, Last Bullet, out front of the venue was a guy basically busking. And there might have been about 30 people watching him.
I know. I don't know if I agree with what he said, and I'm probably going to do it anyway. But that was his tiny bit of advice. But I actually, if you ever like, some of the people on the street are just amazing. I remember when I went to New York City, and there were these artists there on the side, and they were mind blowing, so good.
Not that, and I know your views on Justin Bieber. I mean, he did exactly that too. I mean, like
that's true.
I mean, he did literally sit on the side of. I mean, I actually know people that went up and gave him money. Like, as weird as that sounds, like there's like, holy, that's the guy. Like,
I think Chris wants to interject.
I just wanted to add another band to that list, and the Violent Femmes got discovered busking, ended up opening up for the Proclaimers, I think.
Ooh.
Like that night or whatever, and then they got record signed and everything was good.
All right, so I guess the plan is then we're going to be busking every day from now on. So everyone,
sorry, Jason.
If everyone knows it, we will be down. We're just going to start on Kerr Street, and we're just going to have a tent, and we're just going to walk down, busk, make camp, start in the morning again, and keep going.
Alex, what are your thoughts
on busking?
On just in general, yeah, on busking. Would you be down with it?
You know what? It would be kind of difficult for me being the drummer. But then again, I don't know. It might be kind of fun. I don't know, because like you, I've seen a whole bunch of successful people busking. I mean, people would give them money. I was in Quebec City a couple summers back, and there was this guy who literally had a drum strapped to his back, and he was controlling the kick with his foot. Then he had a guitar on him and a harmonica, and he was doing like Bob Dylan covers, and that was amazing. People were just throwing money at him like left, right, and center. But then I've seen some other people who were equally as amazing. Like you go down to any of the subway stations, you go down to like Spadina Station, you see some of these guys, and it's people treat them like ghosts. They just walk by and
I actually heard a story in the paper about a guy. Apparently, there's this like incredibly difficult violin piece to play, and this guy is like one of the top like violinists in the world. Mm-hmm. Literally sold out. What's the name of that venue?
Thompson Hall?
Yeah, sold it out for like 3 nights in a row. Went down there just as a social experiment to see if he went down there and no one knew him, if he played this like incredibly complex piece, if anyone would notice. All walked by him.
Wow.
Yeah. So it just goes to show, eh?
Yeah, and that's interesting. Because I took the subway for 3 years every day, and I don't think I ever gave $1. Not that I had any real money to give anyway, but that
could be a factor.
That being, I never really saw money. There used to be a blind guy. I think he still does it. He plays like the I don't know, xylophone or something like that. It's really, really cool actually. But I actually remember talking to one of them. I actually wanted one of them on my show, and then I never really, I got her information. I thought she was very good at jazz, and she used to sort of hang up by Union Station there, right by the doors, and never really heard from her.
Actually, my thing about busking, I just remembered a story. I was at this bar in, actually it was at the Three Brewers, at I think it was Dundas Square, and I went outside, and there was this guy playing on a bunch of trash cans and stuff, and my friend, he was like, well, this guy's a drummer too. Do you guys want to jam a little bit? And he's like, for sure. So he hands me a pair of sticks. Literally, I start playing on the trash cans while he's doing like opposite offbeats on cowbells, and we just like jammed it out for like 5 minutes. So you know what? Busking I would probably consider, because it can be very creative in its own right, I think.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Completely off topic here. We're going to do another question. This is a question we ask all the time. What is your favorite Disney movie?
Robin Hood animated, hands down. I love Prince John. Taxes! Taxes! Hiss! You're never around when I need you. I've been robbed. I love that movie. Lady Cluck is hilarious when she's like running down like a rhino and like bashing him in the face, stabbing him with arrows. It's freaking great.
Chris?
I don't know. Maybe Lion King or Aristocats. Aristocats is a good
Oh,
one.
that's one that hasn't been said on this show. That's a good one.
Aristocats is great when they're all jazzing out and getting all bebop and stuff.
Yeah, that's a good one. Alex?
Honestly, for me, it's a tie between Lion King and Aladdin. I have to say, I might have to. I think I'll have to give precedence to Aladdin for now, just because the soundtrack is amazing. You know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go against Chris.
Yep.
In The Lion King, man, I was rooting for Scar. Like,
You're a dick.
Simba comes up to him and he's like, "Hey, Scar, I'm gonna be king next." And I was like, "Scar, slap that kid, slap that smile off his face, take his kingdom."
He killed his dad.
Could you imagine if Prince William did that? He's like, yo, I'm
Well,
king
and also
next.
Scar had Jeremy Irons voicing him. I mean, that's like the most epic
I just thought
Scar
Simba was a
voice
brat,
ever.
man. Teach him a lesson.
With Aladdin, I liked Robin Williams in Aladdin.
Robin Williams, yeah.
Oh.
I honestly,
The
Robin
genie
Williams-
was
Dad
so
got God,
him.
man. That's enough of a
It
lesson.
totally was.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
All right, another question. Sort of touched on this already, but what is your favorite food? We just sort of already
Pad
know.
Thai.
Pad Thai, good choice. Alex?
Homemade mashed potatoes with. I'll go with steak tonight. What the hell?
So pretty much what you'd have on your final meal.
Pretty much. Well done.
I like falafels. I also like pizza, and like veggie burgers and shit.
But he's a vegetarian, so no meat.
Well, pizza's a given.
Which is
for
why
me.
everything I said was vegetarian.
Well, actually, you didn't say veggie pizza. You just said pizza. I personally like tons of dead cows on mine.
This is the guy who roots for Scar.
Because Scar goes around. Never mind.
All right, on that note, we're going to take a quick break. Welcome back to Radio Nation. I'm your host, Nicholas Pescod, joined live in studio with Avarice, and three great guys from Oakville. We're having a lot of good laughs here. So before we sort of close off this round of interviewing and we actually let you go home, because it is almost 10:30 at night now, let's talk about the album here that you guys brought in tonight. We want to play 3 songs. You guys want to have 3 songs played on the air tonight, which we are more than happy to do for you. So let's talk about the 3 songs that you wanted to play. So, tell me about them and about the rest of this this sort of collection of songs or album or whatever you want to call it. And I guess how you guys sort of started off with it.
Yeah, Flowers and Ashes, which is the first song we're going to play, is pretty much what we consider to be like metal and punk mixed together.
Yeah, if you want like a definition of metal punk fusion, I don't think any of our other songs like explain it better than Flowers and Ashes.
Yeah, we almost always open the show with this. It's just really energetic, really fun. And it's like punk mixed with metal. Solos and cool riffs mixed with a punk attitude.
Sounds good. So before we play that one, we're going to play the other one. So talk about track 13 and track 15, the 2 other ones that I have down here for you guys as well. Before we get into that, and before we get into track 14, which we'll play momentarily.
All right, cool. Second track's called Dark Eyes. Actually, it took us a really long time to write. It was about like a month or 2, actually. We were stuck after the intro. And then we just busted it through, and it's one of my favorite ones to play live because Alex gets up and just bangs during the interlude. There's a really cool little part for a nice solo, and it busts out, and it's really cool.
Yeah, and the soloing's really impressive in it. I mean, like, yeah, the sheer speed. I've always been impressed by the way it's played, and
Sure, thanks, Alex.
No, seriously. Like, I always thought the little interlude riff always reminded me of like Nintendo Rock or something.
And then the last one is just it's called Through Bound. It's actually about one of our friends when he was having a hard time and just telling us about how sad he was, and it was just about how you can't help someone sometimes. You just got to let them deal with it themselves, even if you want to. Sometimes someone's got to pull themselves out. So it's a little more mellow, a little more melancholy.
What was the most difficult song on this track to put together, whether it was writing wise or just recording wise? What was the most difficult one?
Definitely Dark Eyes, I think, just because that one took us forever. We had this intro that we loved, and the rest of it just didn't seem to stack up, and it took us a really, really long time to write it.
We couldn't come up with anything, so at one point it got to the point where we just didn't even like playing it anymore because we were just the tempo was all over the place, and it wasn't until Chris joined the band that we gave it another shot. Like we were initially considering just dropping it from like altogether, but
then now it's turned into one of our favorites.
Yeah,
love playing it live because Alex's drums were like a hurricane at the start.
One thing I do want to ask before we get into this song then is how important is it that all the band members sort of really agree on all the songs? I mean, whether one maybe doesn't like it as much as the others, but how important is that you all sort of just get along and really mesh together to just make it work?
All right, why don't we all say a little piece, I guess.
Which is ironic because that last song was just called "Make It Work" by Michaela Todd. So, what
we make it work sometimes. Alex, why don't you feel this, and me and Chris will join in after.
Yeah, well, honestly, for me, I've always trusted Troy's songwriting ability. I mean, he's got a good ear for music, and he knows what works, what doesn't. And he also knows how to write a really catchy riff, which I think is a huge advantage for us as a band, especially as a metal band, thrash metal. We have a lot of those elements incorporated. But I think for us, I'll just speak for my third of the band here. For me, I find that I'm actually really not much of a metalhead at all. Maybe there are about one or two metal bands I listen to. Everything else is pretty much like upbeat, like melodic punk stuff.
All right.
So for me, it's the thrill of the challenge. I mean, I love like metal music on drums, especially, is pretty complex. It's pretty complicated, and it does take a lot out of you. But I love that, and it's the same with my art career as well. I always try and challenge myself to the best of my ability, and hopefully exceed my own expectations. And it's the exact same thing with playing drums in Avarice. I mean, Troy's songs definitely always present a challenge, so it's great.
Would you say that was one of the factors in sticking with the band and joining the band, is because it is such a challenge? Because you just alluded to you're not really a big metalhead, so it's like I'm not one, but I love this. This is so hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
actually,
that's kind of what drove me.
I would say no, man, because we used to play really simple stuff.
Well,
when we first started playing, we didn't sound anything like this. We were straight up like pop punk. And it was like really simple to play. We just did eighth beats every time.
It's true. But I think for like in terms of now, like this is what kind of keeps me in the band as well. Like the challenge and the fact that these guys are just awesome.
Well, that and we're best friends. So, exactly. I mean, we'd be chilling out even if we weren't.
Exactly.
If he doesn't hang out with me, I just show up at his house.
It's true.
All right, so we're gonna play the song number 14.
Cool.
Just clarifying what it's called again for me. I don't have the sheet in front of me, so if you want to.
It's called Flowers and Ashes. It was actually the first song we wrote when we were. Switching back, we used to play instrumental styles for a while, and this is the first one we wrote when it was back. I think it's probably our favorite one to play.
All right, so we're going to get that going just one moment here as we get that going for you. All right, so just give us one moment as we try to cue this up, so it might take a second. All right, give us one moment. I have to apologize for the small delay. that we intentionally wanted to play, but it was Corrosions and Subtle Machinations. That's how you pronounce it, right? That's how you pronounce it. So we're gonna play number 14. Excuse me for you, and just one moment. The song we originally wanted to play, Flowers and Ashes. So here it is. Just give us 1 second here. All right, so there you have it. That last song was Flowers and Ashes by Avarice. Excuse me for the small technical difficulties here as we try to actually figure out how this thing works sometimes. All right, so the next song we're going to be playing is Dark Eyes. So let's talk about Dark Eyes before we actually play that, guys. So talk about this song. Wow, how did you come up with this one?
Honestly, I don't know. I just came up with a riff that I thought sounded really cool, and it wasn't even like I actually wanted the drumming to go different, but when Alex put his take on it, it sounded so much better. So we ended up rewriting the song to his thing because I had it just a normal like punk thing, and his just turned it into this monster intro.
I was listening to a lot of Bullock My Valentine's Time, which they're like a metalcore band from Wales. I love their old stuff a lot, and I'm really heavily influenced by their drummer, Michael Thomas, aka Moose. So I was listening to a lot of the stuff, and he does a lot of really cool like stuff with the double kick pedal, and he's just really creative, at least in that era of their musical career.
Comments, Chris?
Yeah.
Most of these songs were pretty well written before I kind of started playing with them, but I remember having a hell of a time learning Dark Eyes. It's a bit of a marathon, and it's kind of just, consistently trying to follow Alex's drums, and it's a thunderous thing to try and continue to do.
I think we all lose a little bit of weight after playing this song on stage.
All right, well, that being said, we're going to take a listen to it right now here on Radio Nation. Through Bound Eyes. Welcome back to Radio Nation. That last song was Dark Eyes. So this next song, final song that we're going to be playing for you tonight, is Through Bound Eyes, if I'm not mistaken. That's what it's called. So talk about this song and how you guys came up with it.
This is actually one of the more personal songs we have, along with another one called City of Lies, but we didn't have time for that. Basically, the song is just about, we have a friend who recently passed away. No, it's not really recent anymore. It's about a year and a half, but it feels recent to us.
He was actually our former
our
bass
former
player,
bassist and my former best friend. But before this had happened, we knew he was going through a hard time, and he was just telling us about this hard time he was having. Me and Alex, we were at a Tim Hortons, and he was crying and just.
No, he just
we
like broke
we were
down.
trying to help him out, but we realized that like really it was his problem to deal with, and no matter what we did, it was going to be his struggle in the end.
Troy already had this kind of like really sort of melancholy song written down. Like we had all the parts worked out. We just couldn't. We just didn't have any lyrics for it. So I think he went home like that night, didn't you? Or just like very close after
I wrote
that.
them right then.
Yeah.
And it's like this one and one other one are the more melancholy tracks. We usually play like 4 or 5 like big blast out ones we're playing. Then we take it down for about 2 or 3, and we take it back up. This is one of the ones where I really like to take it down because it's a lot more melancholy than the rest of our stuff.
But it's got a cool like it's definitely I would say it's definitely one of the more punk rock songs we have. It's a little less metal.
I did want to touch on that question. Actually, I wasn't sure how to bring it up per se, but now that we're on the topic of Felix, talk about that experience and I guess how it's changed. You guys as a band and how you've been able to go forward from that. Because I mean, I was there at the funeral. I can imagine. I can't even imagine what that was like for any of you guys. So I mean, tell me how were you guys able to go forward? A lot of bands would probably could easily just walk away and say that's it.
Well, actually, at the time it had happened, he actually wasn't playing in our band. Basically, just because he'd been having a lot of musical differences. Like he was really into reggae and like a lot of different styles of music, but we were still really close friends. Mm-hmm. Especially Alex was really, really close to him, and our other friend Mike too. But it was hard for sure. But at the same time, it was actually a big realization because for a while there, I mean, a lot of people had been making comments about like when you say you want to be a musician, you get a lot of comments of, oh, you can't do it, you'll never make it, all this kind of stuff. And even if you're thick-skinned, it gets to you after a while, right? And I had pretty much decided that I couldn't do it and all this stuff. And I'd gone to university, I was taking the safe route and all this stuff. And that's actually why I admire Alex all the time for just like following what he wanted to do and going after art. But and after a while, I was unsatisfied with school. Music was all I thought about, all I did. And then when this happened, it really like solidified for me that like, holy crap, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's here. I got to go for what I want.
Yeah,
right
just
now.
sort of you come to the realization that life is too short to be taken for granted, or
you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly. So you know what, you've only got one chance, and might as well make the best of it, right?
Absolutely.
So
yeah. So with that, we'll play Through Bound Eyes. So
cool.
Here it is on Radio Nation. All right, and welcome back to Radio Nation. And there you have it. There was Through Bound Eyes. So, all right, guys. Thanks a lot for coming on the show tonight. It's been a lot of fun. Had a lot of laughs off air per se, but that's something that the audience doesn't particularly need to know too much about. Although like I said, we should probably do an off-air recorded session that is completely, R-rated.
I feel like we might. You'd
win in that
and
kind
the
of
radio station would lose fans, or gain something.
You probably would gain fans. I think it would be pretty cool, actually. You get to know
Those shows might get really interesting the later they go.
Become like Howard Stern.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, find an amateur porn star and have her come on too. Something really random. Come on, if you know what I mean.
Chris, don't you do that?
Yeah, I mean,
something with a potato or something.
Kinky Kelly and the Sexy Spud.
But he needs a couple of beers before that.
Oh. All right, guys. You guys got a couple of shows coming up. Why don't you tell the fans about where they're going to be at and how they can find you on Facebook, Twitter, and all that other fun stuff?
Yeah, okay. So if anyone wants to check out our stuff, all our music is absolutely free. We never charge a cent for it. You can find that at www.facebook.com/Avarice Music. It's pretty simple. Or if you just search Avarice in Facebook, it'll definitely come up. We got a Twitter too, twitter.com/AvariceMetalX. And we got a bunch of shows coming up. On August 17th, we are playing at the Brantford Club NV. So come out. That will be really awesome. We're playing at around 9 o'clock. Oh, it's on a Friday. Chris wants me to say. Also, it's this Friday. Yeah. Ooh. And we are also playing at Coronation Park on August 31st for the Rolston Rye Rock the Docks. That is going to be a sick show. We've got a bunch of other bands coming out and a comedy show too. And if I don't mind saying so, we are going to kill it, especially because I got a brand new amp, which is freaking gigantic, and I'm going to blow some eardrums. In addition, we have one last one. If anyone's in the Ottawa area, we are going to be at Maryvale Mall headlining their 31st anniversary, and it is going to be some cool stuff. We're looking to book a show in Montreal around there too, so look for that.